This video is sponsored by Surfshark, the best VPN on the market. Surfshark is an app or browser extension that allows you to change your location to access websites in other countries and keep you safe from hackers. For example, we here in Ireland can access other countries' Netflix libraries, streaming services such as DAZN in Spain for those all-important Premier League games. Surfshark keeps you safe and private by protecting everything you do online. When your device connects to the internet, all that information is, in a way, blurred out. Surfshark is particularly useful for keeping you safe if you use public Wi-Fi, such as a college or a cafe. Surfshark allows you to use one subscription on unlimited devices, meaning that you can even share an account with friends and family. On top of this, Surfshark offers a 30-day money-back guarantee, so if you don't like it, you can even get your money back. Our sign-up offer gives you Surfshark VPN for just over €2 per month and up to 4 months free. Why not scan the QR code on screen or use the link in the description to take advantage of this offer. What is up, my friends? It is Sunday night and you're very welcome along to tonight's late night agenda. We're going to have a chat around yesterday's game. Of course, we're going to have a look ahead to the game against Leeds coming up midweek. We're going to talk about Antoine Semeno and the varying degrees of reporting around Liverpool's interest or lack of interest, depending on which newspaper outlet you're looking at. We'll talk about Mark Guehi. We'll give you a little bit of surprise twist on Florian Wirtz and quite how good he really has been, and lots more, including what the media had to say about Liverpool's victory yesterday. As always, my friends, I hope you've had a wonderful Sunday thus far. Thank you for coming in and joining me, and the floor is yours. Get cracking with whatever it is you would like me to discuss. So look, I hope you've had a lovely day. Appreciate you. Yeah, so there we go. Appreciate you. Sorry, I was just reading through a comment there about Surfshark in the chat, and of course we are being brought to you with thanks to our incredible sponsor Surfshark tonight. Some good tips from people in the chat as well on how to get the best out of your Surfshark usage. It's been a product, you know, I've been using for years anyway, so it's an easy fit for me here on the channel to discuss Surfshark, although easy fit for that, but not so much for the clothing these days, especially after the Christmas period. I'd say I'm not the only one though. I bet, let's be honest, we've all got stuck into a few too many chocolates, desserts and savoury items. So, always exchange your subscription, best done during Black Friday, said Mark. Yes, I used to always do that with my used to be BT Sport subscription. Back in the day, I used to wait for the Black Friday sale and get it all up front for 1 year. It used to be an incredible offer. I don't know if they still do it now that they're TNT Sports, but that was my go-to that I used to do when I used BT Sport back in the day. Right, so, look, there's a lot to talk about tonight with Semenyo, and we're going to get stuck into it. It's a real bag of mixed reporting, though. Like, I don't know whether we're going to make a move or not. I really don't. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I do or I don't. But I'm intrigued by it, as I'm sure many of you guys are. The smart money seems to look like he will be on his way to Manchester City. That's what some of the reports are saying. But there's a lot more that do suggest Liverpool are still interested. So let's get stuck into it. We will start off with a report from Mike McGrath. And Mike McGrath writes that Bournemouth are braced for a late twist in the race for Antoine Semeno, with Liverpool waiting in the wings for the £65 million forward. Now, again, that sounds optimistic and upbeat. Jack Gaughan has also said Bournemouth are expecting Liverpool to emerge as serious suitors for Antoine Semeno. So this isn't just like one or two people throwing Liverpool and Semeno out there. More and more people are writing about it. However, Ben Jacobs, very different direction. Ben Jacobs writes that Liverpool still have no plans to sign Antoine Semeno for January. Liverpool, like Arsenal, would only consider something for the summer, meaning if Semeno goes mid-season, it won't be to Anfield. Sammy Mockbell of the BBC said sources insist Liverpool remain interested in Antoine Semeno. City are the only club to make formal contact with Bournemouth. A little bit more though from Sammy Mockbell. Goes on to say that further talks between all parties are scheduled to take place in the next 2 days with a view to wrapping up Semeno's move to City. But until a deal is signed, Semeno's future remains open. Indeed, it still remains to be seen as to whether Liverpool will formalise their interest in Semeno following the injury suffered by Alexander Isak. They are among 5 sides who have inquired. Despite Manchester City's acceleration, well-placed sources have indicated that Liverpool do retain an interest in the attacker, with the window due to open on January the 1st. Now that we know Antoine Semenyo's release clause expires on the 10th of January, so any club looking to do it would want to be acting quickly. The one part that concerns me more than whether we are or aren't interested is the idea that we would look for somebody like Semenyo because of a potential an injury to Isak. You would make an argument that we need a wide forward anyway. And Isak's injury, I wouldn't be looking to bring in a forward just based off Isak's injury, nor would I be looking to accelerate it. But I do think there is a fair conversation to be had about Liverpool's need for a versatile, wide attacking player, regardless of the state of play. The reasons for that for me are as follows. You know the Federico Chiesa situation. You don't need me to keep going back over it. He gets limited minutes. Rio Engamoe gets even more limited minutes, so that's another option that the manager isn't being utilising. We know Cody Gakpo divides opinion amongst Liverpool fans, but seemingly does have the unwavering trust of Arnott, which is absolutely fine. Again, I'm not saying that's right or wrong. Mohamed Salah is away at the AFCON, and like I've said many times, I don't think his future is as solid as it seemed when he left Liverpool. So I would argue, regardless of Isak, we should be looking for a wide forward or a utility forward. Now, it isn't the top priority for me. That's always been centre-back. But I do think we need to get cracking on another attacking option as well, if possible, in this window. My big fear is that Liverpool go through the January transfer window with no additions, no signings whatsoever. And that will concern me for a whole host of reasons, and we'll discuss that as the stream goes on. We have a poll running in the chat right now where we're asking, do you think that Liverpool will make a bid, or do you think Liverpool are going to bid for Semenyo? So let us know on that one. We'll revisit in a while. Right, let's get cracking. Spency, who would you rather, Shada or Adeyemi? I don't really... Shada's doing very well, with Brentford. And I always have a soft spot for a player who has some Premier League experience. Karim Adeyemi, somebody shared an article with me the other day, I think it was Keane, in our Discord, about some charges he's faced in Germany, I believe, for, like, I don't want to talk about the report because I'm not a reporter, but let's just say it's led to him maybe having some questionable moral decision making. So I'm not sure on that. But at the £20 million rumoured price tag, there could be a bargain in there. But here's the thing. That's the word for me in it. Bargain. Because Karim Adeyemi would be nowhere near the list of players that I think we should be looking to bring in. Because, yes, he has potential, but he wouldn't be in my top 5. So, honestly, I would pass on both, Spency, of the names that you mentioned. Because Adeyemi just feels like a cheap solution. And I've made my point many times that I don't think cheap solutions, loan solutions, these type of things have worked for us in the past. And I'm not wholly convinced by Karim Adeyemi. Why the Adeyemi price tag being so cheap? So I don't know what his contract situation is off the top of my head. He is being quoted at about 20 million quid, which does seem very cheap. I would imagine if it's that cheap, his contract must be running down, or they just plainly want rid of him. And either, like, if they want rid of him, that should be sending alarm bells ringing. If it's the contract situation, okay, that makes a little bit more sense. I did bring that one up on screen, didn't I? The boss man, apologies if I didn't, but there it is up there now. Liverpool should focus on Mark Guehi, said Andreas, your Habby one. So on Mark Guehi, everything that I've been reading lately suggests he's not moving anywhere till the summer. Now, I'm going to go on to talk about something a little bit later on. I still haven't gotten my second source on the thing that I wanted to say, but I'm going to tell you anyway, because quite frankly, I've had a shit day and I want to get this one off my chest because I want to have me saying it. Silly me spent a day Googling a couple of things because I was doing some research. We're doing an Anfield Agenda transfer special podcast tomorrow. Myself, Connor and Chris are getting stuck into it. So I started doing a lot of research today. And across my research, I stumbled into some Anfield Agenda stuff, and then I stumbled into some stuff about me. And I did not realise how hated a person I really am. And it came as a real dent to my confidence today when I read that. I always knew I was Marmite, but I didn't quite understand how hated I am by a lot of people. And that got me into a really dark headspace today when I was preparing for that podcast. So while thinking about that, I thought to myself, you know what, Craig? If people hate you, you can't do anything about it. So just say it. The gloves have to come off now, and I'm just going to say what I hear and what I believe to be the case, because people are just going to... Some of the things I was reading about was that I'm clickbait, that I rage bait, and things like that. And my answer to those type of things to those people would be, do I rage bait? Well, I replied to posts in the chat. And one of the things that I think people need to understand that differentiates us from a lot of other YouTube channels that cover content is, I haven't got the ability to come on here and deliver you a 1 hour show based off my thoughts on Liverpool Football Club, because I'm not articulate enough to build a show around that. What we've always done and what I've always done is been interactive. And unfortunately, when you are interactive, some of the time, some of the comments are going to be ones that make you angry. And I bite on some of those comments because I'm a human being. But people seem to think, those that dislike me so much, that that's all I'm about. They call me a liar. They say things like, I believe every transfer rumour I read. I've always said from day one, when you see a title of our videos, there's question marks and everything is based off an article someone else has written. I'm in no way naive, gullible or stupid enough to think that every transfer rumour is true. But I can't be held responsible for other people not being able to understand what a question mark is or understand the concept of the show without giving it a watch and actually trying. So, yeah, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm absolutely in the dumps today. So I'm going to have my say about that situation that I haven't got the second source on yet, because why the fuck not? People are judging me anyway. Right. That doesn't give you the Mark A answer though, my friend, and I'm going to revisit that before I get to Kaz's one. So, there's been a couple of things written about Mark A today. Sami Mokbel of the BBC said, Liverpool, Manchester City, Real Madrid, Barcelona, Bayern Munich, Inter and Atletico have all registered varying degrees of interest in Mark A in recent weeks. Now, like I've always said, my understanding is that there's gentleman's agreement that Mark A will come to Liverpool Football Club in the summer. And here's where I'm going to tie it all together for you. Remember yesterday I told you guys that I had started to research something because of a post that came from an account that I don't know anything about. But the account stated, and I'll read it out for you now. The account was Wilson Cox LFC, and it stated, Manager update, hearing Arne Slot was on the brink of the sack following his PSV Eindhoven defeat, but after assessing interim options, the club held off. Sources indicate that barring something drastic like reaching a Champions League final, Slot is aware he'll probably be relieved of his duties at the end of the season. Potentially framed as mutual consent out of respect, this run of form and results is not acceptable. So they go on to go through some manager listings. And I said to you guys yesterday, none of those names listed are the name that was told to me. Now, whilst I have to say out loud, and I have to be fair, I haven't received a second source on this yet. But my understanding is that the reason Mark A may only come at the end of the season is because he might not be the only person coming from Crystal Palace. My understanding is if Arne does indeed get fired, that Oliver Glasner's name is very, 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 very high on Liverpool's list of potential replacements. On top of that, you have to take into account the potential then for Adam Wharton. So if Liverpool were to move for Mark A or to convince him, and again, some of this is still hypothetical, if Oliver Glasner came with them, well, there's a man that the manager knows he can rely on, and vice versa. There's a man that the centre-back knows will be a manager that wants to play him. And again, a pre-existing relationship there with Adam Wharton, who could be a future target of Liverpool's. Please don't take this as 100% fact that Oliver Glasner is going to be the next Liverpool manager. But my information is that barring a huge change of direction and Liverpool really getting back to something resembling a team that looks like they know what they're doing and not just getting victories from unique moments, I do think the manager goes in the summer. And my understanding is Glasner's aim is very, very, very high up on the list of potentials for lots of reasons. And one of them is he hasn't signed a new Crystal Palace contract and doesn't look like signing a new Crystal Palace contract anytime soon. Take from that what you want. Slate me as much as you want. Say what you want about me online. That is the information that I've been receiving after I started doing my research. And yeah, I couldn't say it yesterday because, well, I didn't feel comfortable saying it. But today I'm in a fuck you mood, so I'm going to say it anyway. Right, so let's get stuck into a lot of stuff. Rain said the Liverpool job is too big for Glasner. Genuine question. If it wasn't too big for Arne, who got the job winning a Dutch League title, why would it be too big for Glasner, who's won an FA Cup and the Europa League? Now, I'm not saying you're right or wrong. I'm not. I'm just posing a hypothetical back to you. Why would it be too big for a man that's already won a Europa League and turned Palace into a fairly good side and won an FA Cup? So I would say he should be almost an obvious name that should be in the mix, especially with his contractual situation. But Arne does still have a chance to turn this around. But I've always said to you, this absolute bona fide 100% cast iron guarantee that the club are fully behind Arne is never something that has been my understanding of the situation. I'm not saying that they're not happy that he won the league or anything like that, but that run of results is unacceptable. And despite the happy clappers and the people wanting to write everything being positive, it isn't. There are still people feeling very frustrated at how that came about. Now, something was doing the rounds yesterday that I can't add anything to. Somebody was trying to intimate that there's been a fallout between Slot, Hughes and Edwards over the Semenyo situation. I've got to say, I've never been told anything about that. I've not received any information to substantiate that. But again, that doesn't mean anything other than I haven't heard it. Right. Kaz said, good morning, all. Craig, Mods, LFC family. I hope that you all had a lovely Christmas surrounded with lots of love and happiness. I wish you all peace of mind and joy for 2026. Thank you for being my rock. Much love. I hope you had a wonderful Christmas as well, Kaz. From myself, anyway, it was a nice, quiet, relaxing one with the family. Spent a lovely Christmas day up with the in-laws. And I hope that yours was as joy-filled and as peaceful and as lovely as possible. And I wish you a fantastic 2026 ahead. Brad, how are we, Brad? Said, a few names come to mind. Ivan Toney from Saudi, Igor Thiago from Brentford, or potential return for Divock Origi back to Liverpool. Hope you're well. See, I'm a bit weird on this one, Brad, because I don't think we've any need to bring in a centre forward, mate. Especially ones that I would already say I don't think are good enough for Liverpool. Because I think Salah could do a job as a second forward. Obviously, Ekitike's there. I've just done out my notes for my preview for the Leeds game. And I don't want to go through too much detail. But I've got an idea of something that I think we may see out there. And yeah, I just don't think we need to bring in a centre forward, mate. Isak's out for maybe 8 to 10 weeks. And there is going to be an increased workload in Hugo Ekitike. That's fine. But a lot of those players just are no's. Like, there's no way Brentford are going to get rid of Igor Thiago right now, mid-season, where they have a new manager. They've already lost a load of players like Brian Mbomo and others. And they've got Keith Andrews doing really well. They're not going to want to rock the boat with that and get rid of him. So I can't see that one even being a possibility. And Origi, mate, there's a reason why Milan are letting him go and terminating his contract by mutual consent, because he just hasn't got the ability to make it. He's a folk hero and a cult hero at Liverpool for obvious reasons, and deservedly so. But I just don't think those names are achievable. One name, Brad, that was doing the rounds, which again I would disagree with because I don't like loans, was Gonzalo Ramos of Paris Saint-Germain. his name was mentioned as a possible one that Liverpool could look to bring in on a 6-month loan. But even at that, it worries me, because what's the upside of it? If he does well at Liverpool, well, then the odds are the PSG are probably going to hike up his price and get more money from elsewhere. We don't need a centre forward longer term, because we have two and we have young Jayden Daniels coming through. So I just don't see the upside of it. And again, you're talking about a player that would then have to come in and get up to speed, get used to the way that we play, and get used to the Premier League. So at that, I felt a bit far-fetched as well. So, Tim said, again, only whining about Slot. I'm really getting fed up of the tone of this channel. You can be critical without being so depressing. How am I only moaning about Slot? Honestly, how am I moaning about Slot? Please do let me know. Is he in the title of the stream? Is he on the thumbnail? Is he? No. So how am I moaning about Slot? Mate, I can't help it that some people want to live in a world where they think what Arne has done this season's been good enough. I can't help that. I can only tell you what I know. And if you don't like the tone and you think it's depressing, no problem. But I didn't bring up Arne Slot on this stream in the title or in the thumbnail. I came on talking about Antoine Semeno, started the stream about Antoine Semeno. And if you don't think that the club are unhappy with how Slot's reign has gone this season, I don't know what to say to you. But depressing versus reality are often the same things. If you want toxic positivity, as I want to call it, then this isn't the channel for you. But I'm always going to shoot from the hip. I'm always going to speak with honesty. And I'm always going to hold the club to a standard that I think we should be held to. And if that doesn't suit you, quite frankly, fuck off elsewhere. I'm sick of people like you thinking that not being a happy clapper is depressing or toxic. Far from it. You're short-sighted idiots. Because I'm the one who defended Arne when people were saying the job was too big. I'm the one that defended the man when people said he was a lamb to the slaughter. So I have never been anti-Arne Slot until the run of results and the style of football became absolutely unfathomable and depressing. And if you enjoy watching Liverpool week in and week out, right now, as we're playing, I don't know what to say, mate. Because I don't know anybody that enjoys the brand of football we're playing now. Slot in, slot out doesn't make a difference. I don't know anybody that thinks the style of football we're playing with is enjoyable and they look forward to watching the Reds. So like I said, there are plenty of channels out there for you to go and be told everything's great all the time. No probs. But I don't drag you in here. Remember that. You come in here by choice. And you talked about me being negative, but the first thing you do coming into the channel is to be negative. So you've already made your mind up about me, so please don't waste our time. My biggest gripe with Slot is the style of play and how bad it is to watch. Stop straw manning. Oh, well done, Random Fail. You've learned a word. You've learned a word. Well done. You know what a straw man argument is. Brilliant. Where's my argument? I'm giving you my opinion. You don't have to agree with it, but either put in a rebuttal or shut the fuck up. You're my problem, mate. People like you that never contribute anything are my problem. I've no problem with you disagreeing, dude. But just give your counterpoint or shut the fuck up. Because all you are is another toxic prick on the internet with nothing good to add. So either come in, have your say, rebut, we'll discuss it, like civilised human beings, or fuck off and annoy somebody else. Cal, hey Craig, I was at the Palace Carabao Cup game. Guehi told for about 5 minutes after the game, talking to Joe Gomez on the pitch. Thought it was interesting. Yeah, I always look for stuff like that as well, mate. You know, sometimes you're almost looking for too much at times. Yeah, I don't know if we can read that from that at all, mate. I'd like to think we could. There was also a moment before one of those games in the tunnel where they were talking, and I think it was him and Verge and something, and there was a look between them that made me think, is there something to this? Sorry, just gonna have to have a drink. So David Mitchell, nobody more toxic than you, mate, to be honest. Then why are you here, David? Why are you here? Straightforward. This is what baffles me about you people that claim to hate me. You're everywhere. Everywhere, bro. Everywhere I turn. People that claim to hate me are there. Why is that? So even on a day where I start the stream by explaining that I'm hurting as a human being, you decide I'll stick the boot in. Like other people, stick the boot in. Thanks for that. Appreciate you. Stargirl, hope you had a nice Christmas. I had a feeling Aston Villa was the wrong place for Harvey Elliott. I said he should have gone to Germany. It's a good place for young players to develop. It's such a shit show of a situation. Again, from my understanding, thanks to an Aston Villa fan who was very informative on it, there was a disagreement between Unai Emery and Monchi about players they wanted in or not. And ultimately, Monchi since left the club has kind of left Harvey Elliott in absolute limbo where his season's been wasted. And it's so unfair all around, you know, because Liverpool wouldn't have sent Harvey into a situation like that if they thought it was going to develop like that, because that benefits nobody. And Liverpool brought him out there, and obviously there was the clause to be triggered that would have seen him pay X amount, I think it was 35 million quid for him, and that hasn't happened. But what really surprised me on it was when Arne said that he's an Aston Villa player for the season and didn't even seem to really have a conversation around the possibility of bringing him back in, or that he could be a useful addition for the second half of the season, which, you know, my own opinion would be that he definitely could. I see loads of people in the chat on Bastoni, by the way. Sorry, I didn't mean to ignore the Bastoni stuff. I was going to get around to it in a bit. On Bastoni, there was a few bits and pieces that I did when I was doing my research for the podcast the other day. A lot of the interest in Bastoni, the strong interest, seems to be coming from Spain. So I know he's been linked with Bayern Munich, but there's been quite a lot of admiring glances heading Bastoni's way from the likes of Real Madrid and Barcelona. So we will be discussing them on the podcast on Monday, excuse me. But I don't have high hopes. You know what? Him and I would probably add into the mix, apart from Bastoni, Schlotterbeck, another one that when I was doing my research, a lot of admiring glances came his way from the likes of Barcelona, Real Madrid, and of course we knew Bayern Munich were in the mix there for him. So yeah, again, I don't hold much hope on either of those two, but there was he did like a post from Florian Wirtz, or he did put an emoji to a post from Wirtz about scoring his first goal or something, but I wouldn't read too much into that other than them being potentially international teammates, potentially just being nice to each other. Sorry. Enjoy your Christmas, Craig. Ignore the haters. I can't, mate. I'm not built that way. And I wish people would just understand this about me. I'm not built to ignore hate. I can't do it. I just can't. When you're insecure, these are the things that you dwell on. And when you're in a bad place, these are the things that cut deep. Even if you know that people are coming in to intentionally do it, it hurts. Because I'm a human being sitting in front of a camera and I don't know what's on the other side of a comment. I don't know if it's a 10-year-old kid, a 50-year-old fella, a woman over in Uzbekistan. I haven't got a clue. But I do know I don't think I deserve any of it. Because I treat people with respect and I try my best to represent the Liverpool fan base with respect, with dignity and class, contributing back as and when I can. And all I ever ask for is for the same respect to be shown back in. But if it continues in the way it is, and I continue to feel the way I do, my only option is to stop. Because I'm not going to do what my mother did. And I'm not going to become another statistic. That's not going to happen. So, like I've always said, if I'm not wanted, I'll go away. It's not that hard. I'm not in this for money. But I'm also not here to be just lied about and taken shots at. Especially by people that don't know me. So again, all I'm ever asking is, if you don't like me, just don't come in and comment or watch. Because what's the point? It's not going to benefit you. It's not going to benefit me. It's not going to help anything. All it's going to do is potentially lead to somebody doing something that can't be taken back. And nobody wants that. Even the biggest asshole that thinks I'm the biggest prick in the world doesn't want that. It's fucking Christmas. I'm never going to come on here and just say that I'm going to be happy about Liverpool all the time. Because there's nothing to be happy about at the minute. We're not playing well. We've got injuries all over the place. We're getting away with some results. How can I come on and sit here and talk positively about it? We're all frustrated. And whether you agree or disagree with me on that, these are my honest views. I'm not saying you have to agree with them, but I do wish you would just rebut them rather than just going for being negative. And, you know, like I've said, I can go back and do 8.5-minute news videos and never have to interact with anybody or go to members only chat. But I don't want to do that because I've always tried to keep this open to everyone. I hate the idea of people being priced out of anything. But it's so tough when you only see a quarter of the stuff. You don't see the death threats. You don't see the threats to my son. You don't see the threats to my wife. And people just think this is easy. Or ignore it. Why is the onus always on everybody to be better than the pricks? Why can't the onus be on the people who are being scum to start being decent people? Anyway, I promise you that's the last I'll say about that for the evening. Let's keep talking footy. Mark said, I've had to put up with hatred or some form of jealousy at work all my life. I take it as this: the best way to make enemies is to do something right. It's just jealousy. Look, mate, I'm not worth being jealous about. I've said that for a long time. Like, I'm a normal working class fella. There's nothing about me worth being jealous about. I live in a council house. I'm a normal person. Yeah, God, I wouldn't be jealous of me if I was in anybody else's shoes. A few trolls have realised you get triggered easily and are starting to do on it on purpose to get a reaction. Don't fall for it, mate. Again, I do realise that, but maybe I'm being naive, but I'm just appealing to common decency. Because I'm trying to be honest and say that I am in a bad place. Just give it a break for a bit. You know? But I get it. You are right, of course. Thoughts on possibly bringing in Marmoush, with City bringing Semenyo and having Doku. His previous chemistry with Ekitike could work. So I think it was Sam Maguire, mate, that wrote a piece that said last season last summer, Diaz wanted out and he wanted to go to Manchester City. And Manchester City were happy to make that move. But Liverpool then inquired about signing Julian Alvarez. And the report says that Manchester City told Liverpool they won't sell players to Liverpool. Now, again, it's a report. But if that report has truth to it, the idea of Liverpool being able to get Omar Marmoush seems very unlikely. At the time when Manchester City signed him, many of us, myself included, did wish, we were there and we did make the play to sign him, because I think he would have been great in our team. If I'm guessing who leaves Manchester City, I'm thinking SEMENYO probably feels like the most likely one. But it is interesting that even though it's so strongly likely that it's City and SEMENYO that's going to happen, that there are still reports saying Liverpool are still there in the mix, But I guess we're going to find out quite quickly, because as we know, 10th of January is the cutoff point for this. And, if I'm betting on it, I'm saying he's going to go to Manchester City. That's certainly where my head's at with it. So on the poll, we've had lots of votes on this one. Do you really think we're going to bid for SEMENYO? And 62% of people said no, and 38% of people said yes. I'd definitely be in the camp of no on that one. But I am concerned about the forward line for a few different reasons. Sorry, I'm just trying to think about another poll question in my head. Yeah, leave the poll with me. We'll get another poll going in a minute. Let's just get through some of the news and some of the comments. Footy banter. Craig, please ignore the haters. Your show helped pull 2 people I know out of a really dark place. And please, please, please keep calling out Slot's boring tactics and not playing the guys who bring energy. Thank you for the kind words at the start. And on the Slot stuff, I don't have any doubt about what I say about Slot, particularly around the style of football, because it is monotonous, and it's inconsistent as well. So I think yesterday is a pretty good encapsulation of kind of what the Arne Slot reign has been about. We started that game on the front foot and did really well. I thought we looked like we had a swagger in the first half. We managed to get ourselves a 2-goal lead. And if you would have given me 50 quid at that moment and said, Craig, how does this game go? I would have put it on 3-4 or 5-0 being the outcome of the game. So for that to have happened and gone the opposite direction so quickly just angered me. And it's a very... I don't know if you guys feel the same on this, but it's a very unique feeling and a very eerie feeling to somehow feel frustrated with a win. You're obviously happy that you're in 4th place now and you're back in the Champions League spots. And the Villa result against Chelsea helped us out as well there. But still, I don't feel like anything is close to being right at the club from a footballing perspective. And it's strange. It's really strange. Like, I mentioned Gavin Cooney's post yesterday, and Gavin Cooney is a journalist that writes here in Ireland for the 43, for the Journal, and a few other things. And Gavin said Liverpool's is the worst run of good form I can remember. And I think he very, very well articulates kind of how I'm feeling on it. Because you can't deny we're unbeaten in 7. You can't deny we 5 wins and 2 draws. But not much of that's been convincing at all. And I keep coming back to the start of the season, because that's where, we'd won 5 again. But we were all honest enough to say, is this convincing, or are we getting away with it a bit? So one of my favourite things to do the day after a game is go onto the Echo website and look at... They always do a very good roundup of what journalists from other newspapers have kind of said about the game, and they give you little chunks of articles from the likes of Paul Joyce and others. And I always enjoy reading them, because it gives you a flavour of what the people that were looking at the game from a journalistic perspective think. And I actually think some of the coverage on it yesterday was quite very, very fair and balanced. And I want to read you out a couple of bits that I've pulled from it. The first one comes from Richard Jolly of the Independent, and they say was another to instead take a gloomy view on a fourth successive victory for Liverpool. So part of what Richard Jolly wrote was, it became a seventh game unbeaten in the Premier League. They've 14 points from the last 18 available, but the facts can paint an overly flattering picture. They made heavy weather of beating a team who've now made the longest winless start to a top flight season since 1902-1903. There was the familiar frailty when Liverpool were put under pressure at the back. Nine-man Tottenham might have taken a point against the champions. So could doomed Wolves. They got a goal, and in a somewhat predictable fashion. I think that's spot on, because that's kind of how I felt going through the game. We were playing a team that we should have wiped the floor with, a team that have had the worst start to any Premier League season ever, haven't won a game yet this season, and we had squeaky bum time conceding an absolutely pointless goal that we should have easily defended. So, well done to Rich Jolly on that. And this one's from Paul Gorst and his take from the Echo. And Paul writes, so how best to judge Liverpool as they approach the halfway point of their campaign? This was a win that showed flashes of promise and plenty of concern, pretty much encapsulating the season so far in the process. The Reds might have extended the run to 7 games without defeat en route to a third straight Premier League triumph, but a better side than Wolves might have punished their failure to kill off their opponents when they had their chance. Even against the worst side in the division, who were without a win all season, a large portion of this game was spent living on the edge. It was all so needless. So, whatever way people want to dress up me being negative about the manager or about winning, the media are writing the very same things as I'm saying. The same concerns are being felt far and wide. Everybody acknowledges the wins and the points and the run, and it's certainly welcome. But nothing about it feels like it's been fixed. Nothing about it feels like Arne's turned a corner and has suddenly found something that works. It just feels like exactly what it is. We're winning games we should be winning in an easy run of fixtures, and it's no more than that. That's how I see it right now, and that's why I'm so adamant that I'll continue to call out Arne, the style of football and his treatment of some of the players, because none of it is good enough. It just isn't. Where are we at with this one? Tobias, how are we, dude? Hope you had a lovely Christmas, mate. The one who shoots will always be unpopular by many. As far as I know, you're the only one who shoots in this fan base, and I appreciate it. Well, there was a tone in a lot of the stuff I was reading, which was a lot of people like positive commentary on football. A lot of people like purely positive stuff on their football clubs. That was one thing that came through in a lot of the forums where my name was coming up. Because a lot of people were like, well, these guys are always positive and informative and upbeat about it, whereas this lad, he's always angry, he's always ranting, and maybe they're right. But like I said, it is me. You know, I can't change who I am. And I can't keep apologising for being myself. People can't accept honesty, let them cry about it. Well, there was one thing that I shared in our WhatsApp, which I hope you guys seen. And if you haven't seen it, let me read it out to you, because it is something that made me proud. It said, rapid growth. Anfield Agenda has been noted as the fastest growing fan channel in the world by subscriber growth over recent periods. Not too shabby. Very proud of that. Very proud of you guys. So yeah, not too shabby. Craig, might be an idea for members only chat for a bit. You don't deserve all the crap that comes your way. I feel really guilty when I do that, mate. When I go to and do you want me to be really bluntly honest here? I could switch to member only chat without you even knowing it was on, because of the system we have. I could filter the chat so all I get is members chat and super chats. And I can do that with YouTube still showing the normal chat because of the system we invested in. But I choose to do that on a very, 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 very rare occasion because I feel it unfair to people that can't afford to be members. And I know there's some damn good people who support this channel and have great points to make that aren't members. So I feel incredibly guilty doing that type of stuff. So sometimes I sacrifice my own well-being to make sure everybody gets a fair chance to have something read out, because I do believe, and I've strongly believed, the fan content should be free and available to everybody since I started doing this. And again, not to speak badly of others, everybody can make their own choice and I don't judge anyone how they go about it. But my belief has always been, like the internet itself, I think fan content should remain free where possible. So I don't like doing it. Latte. Oh, coffee news. Coffee news. I had my first cup of coffee today from the new machine. And now I feel like a proper coffee drinker. So yes, I've finally broken out the new coffee machine, and yeah, I feel a little bit posher now. I feel like my coffee game's going up a level or two. Anyway, just a bit of breaking coffee news there for you. Can't please everyone no matter what. LFC fan base and the people around the club can be arrogant at times. They are what they accuse you of, projection. Yeah, one of the things that kept coming up actually was he rails about the club not wanting anything to do with him. Well, that's because he's a toxic arsehole. Maybe they're right. Like I've said, I can't help if the club do or don't want anything to do with me, but like I always try to say to people, I'm not all bad. I'm definitely not all bad. Don't take any notice of jealous idiots. You're the most watched YouTuber. I'm in the top 1%. I'm always backing you, bro. Look, I'm incredibly grateful for our community, lads. You know that. I am. And this is not about wanting an attaboy or any of that stuff. It's just I don't get it. I don't get it. I've never understood it from a child all the way to now. Why you go out into the world screaming about things that you hate as a mindset instead of taking part in things you enjoy. You know, to boil it down that simply. So I don't like, what do I not like? I don't like baseball. So I don't sit there watching baseball shouting at the television. Or I don't go onto baseball forums. And I don't understand how anybody spends their day shitting on other people for whatever reason. Because I wish them people happiness. And I wish that they would just do something that makes them happy. Because I've been in that place. I've been in the place where I had a chip on my shoulder and I hated the world. And I was angry about everything. And it only led to bad times, bad health, bad mental health. And there was no upside to it. That's why I keep saying, like, just go do something you like. Don't bother. Don't waste your time with me. If you don't like me, cool. Just don't waste your time with me. I'm not worth it. Go do something that makes you happy. You know what would be funny? How the tone of the journos who blindly back Arne suddenly change when Daddy FSG tell them to turn the narrative. Look, I don't see how anybody with any type of rudimentary understanding of football can look at how we play and be happy about it. You can be happy about results and winning, but the style or the lack of style is very confusing. I think confusing is probably the fairest word in this, because I don't even know what he is trying to do. And that's the part I'd love to get an answer to, is what is Arne trying to do? Because my fear is that Gakpo's back now and we're going to revert into the variation of the 4-4-3 again that led to us having the same issues we've had before. So I'm really interested to see if he really has had a eureka moment and turned the corner and is working on something that may work longer term, or if this is a sticking plaster for a tough moment, and then when Salah comes back, Gakpo comes back, and his favourite players come back, we go back to the system that, you know, wasn't great for us for the, let's say, middle 10 games of the season so far. Right, let's go into the chat. Give me an idea for a poll that you guys would like to vote on, because I'm drawing a blank at the minute on the poll. So give me an idea of a poll. And while you guys are trying to suggest some poll ideas, I'm going to give you out a nice, interesting, positive, upbeat stat on Florian Wirtz. So, Who Scored posted this. Most chances created by Premier League summer signings this season. Mohamed Kudus has 22. He's 5th on the list. Manchester United's Brian Mbeumo has 26 chances created. He's 4th on the list. Manchester City's Ryan Cherky, 27 chances created. And the top two, joined with 30 each, are Jack Grealish and Florian Wirtz. So again, to everyone that's been slating Florian Wirtz, you know, whilst I've disagreed with a lot of what Slot said this season, his narrative about Florian being unlucky on occasion, I've always said is probably correct, because the lad is getting better and better, and I thought he was head and shoulders above everybody else on the pitch for the Wolves game, and I do expect him to just really kick on now from here. I think he's getting to grips with it. He's put on about 2.5 kg of muscle, and he's been working really hard. And what I love most about Wirtz is there never seems to be a flicker of doubt in him when you see him interviewed. You can see the brain ticking over, and he's always said, yeah, I know I'll get to there. I'm doing this to get to this point. I know I need to do a little bit of extra this to get here. And this dude is, I can't wait. I just cannot wait for Florian Wirtz to really, settle in along with the players around him. Like, don't forget, we'll have Dom back now as well for the game against Leeds, and he was a big miss against Wolves. But, him having an enforced breather, a bit of a rest, probably no harm either there. Craig, do you really think Guehi will come to Liverpool? I think as each day, less and less chance. Call me a naive old fool or an optimistic old fool, but yeah, I do. I do think he comes, mate. I totally understand where you're coming from, because, in an ideal world for me, we wouldn't be letting this get to January and dragging out, because let's say we do have a poor second half to the season, or let's say we somehow don't qualify for the Champions League, and a Barca or a Madrid or somebody comes flirting with him and he likes the idea of it, yeah, it will concern me. So I would rather get it done now. But what I can't say to you is that there's any indication that I've heard that we're going to make that play in January. A lot of stuff is pointing towards the summer. And as I mentioned a while ago, that might be because of their manager as well, who it looks like will probably move on from Crystal Palace. And his name has been mentioned to me as one to keep an eye on for us. Sorry, let's go through the polls. I don't like doing the captain's poll, mate, because I feel a little bit disrespectful because we have a captain. Okay, I've got one for you. I think I've got a good idea for a poll that we haven't discussed for a while. Okay. Okay, so the poll's live, but let me give you context to why I've put the poll up. So I've asked, are you convinced that Kirkes will be good enough? Because in the last 3 to 4 weeks, I feel like something's clicked in Milos Kirkes' mind, and something's clicked in the team, and that there was a really good relationship forming down our left-hand side. You could see it in display in the first half against Wolves again. The relationship that was there between WIRTZ, down that left-hand side, Milos Kirkes, I thought was really, really effective. Jones was helpful there as well. So a few weeks ago, I was nervous about the Kirkes situation. But now, I think he is the starting left-back for the majority of the season now at this point, and probably on merit with how he's been playing lately. Now, I'm not saying he's the finished product, but nor should anybody his age be the finished product yet, a fullback. But I'm really happy with the progress he's made in recent weeks. So for me, the answer is I am now convinced. I was always happy with the signing, but a few weeks ago I would have said he was probably a coin flip between him and Robbo about who I'd play week in and week out. Now, if we're in a one game a week mode, I do think most of the time I'm going to lean to Kirkes because there is a lot of good stuff coming into his game, and we're starting to see a more natural set of movements. You know, I watched them yesterday, and sometimes he wanted to underlap, but then he realised the underlap wasn't right, so last minute goes overlap, and then vice versa. And these are the type of things that you can see he's been working on with the coaches, and you can see those thought processes flicking. And I've been really impressed with him lately. So, Paul Joyce says, while Liverpool have hijacked deals at the 11th hour previously, notably taking Luis Diaz away from Spurs and Hugo Ekitike from Newcastle, it is understood there have been no new developments with regard to Semenyo, who turns 26 on January 7th. But that doesn't say, again, that Liverpool won't make a move. It just says there has been no new moves for him. Now, again, I'm not saying we will or won't, but it is a very mixed bag of reporting around Semenyo. Some feel Liverpool are still mulling over this late play, this late move, and that maybe Semenyo's waiting for it. And then others feel it's a done deal, he's going to City. And I'm probably in the Manchester City camp on this one. Alejandro said, Kirkes is just 21, 22. Remember that. He'll be great for us. He is so physically impressive as an athlete. And do you remember when, I think it was the signing day vlog? Or there was something I watched with a conversation with Kirkes, and he was talking about swimming a lot growing up and that he was a competitive swimmer. And in that moment, I remember saying to myself, that shows you how he has such a good level of aerobic fitness, because you need it. Anyone who's swimming. My wife's a qualified lifeguard. Like the levels of fitness it really does take. To get up and down and swim consistently. So, and the lung capacity it needs as well. So it clicked in my head then. That probably added into why. It's mad. Some other players you'll hear the ballet growing up, and other things that then add to their football ability as they get older. How so many of the great Spanish players, Brazilian players, and that are futsal players growing up, and that's where the close ball control and technique comes from. And then when they're on a pitch with a full-size ball and a full-size pitch, these things seem huge to them, so they never really feel the same pressure in these enclosed, tight environments. Aston Villa fan How are you, mate? Said, I would love us to go all the way. I think January will define that if we do a good job. I'd love a young Vardy, wouldn't we all? And a good technical winger. You should be so proud, mate. Like, to go to the bridge and win like you did, to come from behind. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's 11 wins in a row now for you. Wow. Wow. You know, you have every right to dream and mostly enjoy it, bro. Enjoy every minute of it. If my memory's right, I think you've got a game at the Emirates coming up. That's a huge test. And I spoke about it being a big test for us as well, about where we're at. But I don't know a single football fan outside of maybe the top three. No, outside of Arsenal, Man City, that if their club couldn't win it, we'd want you to win it. I'd love Villa to go and win the league if we didn't win it, mate. I'd absolutely love it for their fans, for just the club, for Emery, for all of you. I love Villa fans. And it would be incredible. I don't think you're going to do it over the course of the season. I'm not sure where you're at with the financial side of things, what your ability might be to do in the market. You've definitely got a coach who's up for it and more than good enough for it. And it's amazing what confidence can do and a belief that you're going to win every game. Remember what I've said on this channel, folks, about winning being a habit and a good habit and something that you expect. That's where Villa are right now. 1-0 down, completely outplayed in the first half against Chelsea. They come out, turn the game around and win it. And looked like they believed they were winning it. And then just didn't sit on that 2-1 lead. Went and kept pushing. Because Villa players right now are absolutely beaming with confidence. So, yeah, I hope you can do well, mate. You know, I really, really do. You've certainly put yourselves in a damn good position to bring back Champions League football. But whatever else happens, what a run. 11 wins in a row is absolutely phenomenal. Sorry, I have some more super chats to catch back up on. Cal said, followed by Top Reds also changing their tune. I don't know what that means, Cal. Sorry, it's kind of gone over my head a little bit, bro. Dave, 57 months, man. And it's been a pleasure. I hope yourself, your family, and young Sinead had a lovely Christmas. And a prosperous 2026 to you all. I nearly said 2027, dude, because that's, you know, where my head's at today. It's up my backside. The real Johnny Sins hates said, Craig, it's not even the goal we conceded that pissed me off. It's the fact that we had to ride on luck to scrape Wolves at home. Tolu had a great chance and Bradley had to save us from a tap-in. So when I was doing my match reaction yesterday, mate, and my player ratings, I had forgotten about that. And this is what I say to people so often, like, always feel like you can pull me up in the comments on my player ratings videos on that, because there's definitely things I've forgotten about. Because I watched the game and at the same time as watching it, I'm talking, I'm reading, and I'm trying to process stuff. So there are bits I forgot about. And that Bradley block was one of the things I forgot about. So I probably owe him half a point. But on top of that, you're right. There was also a header that was just over the bar. We didn't see out that game convincingly at all. And Wolves' confidence grew and grew as it went on. Yeah, it will, and I forgot about that block from Bradley because you're right. It was an exceptional piece of defending, and it was a tap-in if we didn't get there. And this is why I just can't be that overly positive person, because I don't feel we have an awful lot to be justifiably confident about. We can be grateful for 3 points, but I don't feel like we've ridden out the storm at all. And again, don't forget the header. Like, I watched Match of the Day back last night, and that header, again, was about a foot over the bar, but could have gone a different way. Our best player in the calendar year 2025 poll. Oh, brilliant idea. Remind me of that in a few minutes, dude, when we get through this poll. We'll get this poll up to 1,000 and then we'll fly into that one. But do remind me in case I forget. Lifelong Liverpool fan, almost half a century. Finding your channel made my Liverpool world a bigger and better place. You give so much depth and insight, better than the usual coffee break chatter. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that, mate. I try to give as much insight as I can because, like I said, I've been in and around football my entire life, and I might not know the game same level of detail as an Arne Slot or a Klopp or a Guardiola, but I know my football and I know what I'm looking at, and I know good and bad things when I see them. So I'm really pleased that you find some good insights. Thank you, mate. Appreciate it, and certainly could do with the confidence nudge today. So I really appreciate you taking the time to say that. Thank you, and also much love to you and a merry bit late for Christmas, so prosperous 2026. So, if you can, please do vote in the poll so we'll get on to the player of the 2025 calendar year idea, which is a belter of an idea from Itachi. We'll move on to that one in a bit. So we need about, 120 more votes. Also, if you can, hit that subscribe button for me and drop a like. I want to say thank you once again to everyone that has helped out with Adam Duffy's GoFundMe as well. So succinctly put, I should say, or maybe I shouldn't. I'm going to put it this way. We're supporting Adam to try and get over to defend his European title over in Serbia in the European Championships. He's a young MMA fighter from my hometown here in Gorey. He's a multiple-time European Irish champion, a world championship runner-up, but there is no funding in Ireland for MMA. The government doesn't fund that sport. So Adam, even though he qualified and is representing Ireland, so let me read out what his mum said. It's on the screen. Adam and Dylan, who are twins, have been selected to represent Team Ireland in the European Championships, which will be held in Serbia in February next year. Adam and Dylan are twins and competing on the MMA circuit for a number of years. To be picked to represent their country means the world to them. Unfortunately, MMA isn't recognised sport in Ireland, which means funding isn't available. That means that we have to raise the money for them to be able to do this. We've put in €1,000 on behalf of you guys to kickstart it. A couple of people who've sent me super chats, I put those in as well, to try and keep it up. And we're at 51 or 52% now to get the guys there. If you can, please do help them out because this kid is super impressive and you will be seeing his name in the future. So thank you for your time, and again, appreciate your support. Right, we only need 40 more votes now on the Kirkes one, and then we'll move on. How much do they need? They need to raise €3,500 to get themselves, the coaches, and that over for the tournament, and they're at about 1,780, something like that at the minute. I'm also doing a fundraising event in a local pub here in Gorey later on in the month where I'm going to be emceeing a night where they've got music coming over. They've got a Liverpool-based musician coming over, and instead of paying me a fee for that night, I've asked them to make the donation to Adam's GoFundMe. So yeah, if you can help out, brilliant. If you can't, no problem. But thank you for your time either way. Right, so 82% of people said that yes, they do think that Milos Kerkez will be good enough, and I'm so glad to see that because there's no denying he had a bit of a sketchy start and it was a bit up and down, but I do think the last few weeks have really shown that he's headed in that right direction. Right, this is going to be a tough one to figure out. I need 4 names, so... Right, 1 second. So, let's go through some of the options. I think he has to be in there. One sec, folks. I need one more option. Who am I missing? I know I'm missing somebody. One more option. I've got Dom in there. I've got Mo in there. I've got Gravenberch, Dom, and Salah in there at the minute. Canade, stop now. Stop. Yeah, we'll go with Alisson. So we'll go with Alisson. And the reason that I've not put in some of the ones mentioned like Ekitike is Ekitike has been here half the year. And this is for the calendar year of 2025. So best Liverpool player in the last calendar year is what we're going for. So basically 2025. Let me put that in brackets. So best Liverpool player in the last calendar year. Gravenberch, Dom, Alisson, Salah. They're the four options that we've put in. So you said Maka, but I would say no, because I think last season, yes. But I think the start of this season, Maka's been way off it. And that's where I was struggling coming up with a few. Because obviously Ekitike had a brilliant start to the new season, but we can't ignore the first half where he wasn't a Liverpool player. So I've tried to focus on players that have been here all the way through. And Maka, for me, I just think the start to this season is falling away. He probably would have been the next one if I was to do a fifth one, though. Same as Salah, though. He's been off this season. That's true, but he did smash records again last year. Was voted the Football Writers and the PFA Player of the Year. Can't ignore those things either. And he still scored some goals this season and contributed bits. Look, these things are never a fixed science. They're always just opinions. And remember, like, I'm just trying to make the show a bit more fun and interactive. Please don't take any personal input or offense, excuse me, for it. It's not an exact science. This one from Rennie, or Renhe, excuse me. I love your streams, mate. Barcola in the summer, pressing machine, reminds me of Diaz a bit. Great player, frustrating in front of goal, but still gets numbers. So Bradley Barcola is a player we're definitely talking about on the podcast tomorrow. Bradley Barcola is definitely a player that Liverpool are fond of, and the summer certainly is a more achievable time frame than this season. So I think what you've said there sums up how I feel as well. Lots to like about Barcola. The finishing is one of the things that I would say frustrates me a bit. But then again, Ekitike was underperforming his XG before he came to Liverpool, and now he's outperforming it by a good bit. So, yeah, Barcola's one worth keeping an eye on, 100%, and we'll be discussing that in the pod. So how are we feeling in general, lads, about the January window? Like, we're now a few days away from the window opening, and there isn't really one link out there that suggests we are about to make a move for a player. And to me, I'm starting to get very worried about it, because I can make an argument to not bring in an attacker. I can make an argument to try to cope in midfield, but I can't make an argument to not bring in a centre back. That's the one thing I don't think could be even up for debate this season in the need. Centre back I think centre back will be the thing that could really, really cost us this season. I think we can get by with the forwards. I think we definitely get by with the midfield. Could we bring in a DM? Absolutely. Could we bring in a utility forward? Absolutely. But I'm talking bare bits necessity. I think a centre back should be, like, if I'm Arne Slot, I'm up at night sweating over the idea of a Canade or a Van Dijk injury because we've got nobody else. Gomez is out. Will come back in, but we know we'll probably pick up another muscle strain and is probably better covering in fullback areas. We've got Giovanni Leone. He's a great talent and one for the future, but is not going to be helpful to us, unfortunately, for the rest of this season. And it feels like an injury to one of the main two, and we're screwed. And we still don't know where Canade's at mentally with his future. All of those things combined means, for me, I'm getting very concerned that we're not seeing headlines linking us to a lot of centre-backs for January. Nick, hey Craig, whether Slot goes, would Glasner be a better fit as he was implement his system and style of play? There are signs that Slot is doing it, albeit slowly. Do you feel we would be going back to square one? It's a very well balanced piece, Nick. I mentioned a while ago, Nick, that I'm intrigued to see when more players become available to Arna, what he does system wise. And I've also said that I do think with the players we brought in the summer, with the addition of some centre backs, I think we're nearly tailor built for a 3-5-2 system. So that would work for Glasner also if he came in. So I'm open to Slot turning it around. Of course I am. I don't see the signs of it really yet. I more see us just about getting through games we should be winning because we've got better individual talent than the opposition. And those individual talented players are finding us moments like Ekitike, WIRTZ and that. And I'm not also trying to sit here and say to you that Oliver Glasner would be my first choice if Arno was sacked. But if you can take one thing away from this, Nick, it's that I would like to see us switch to a system that does play with three at the back in the summer for next season. Because look at the personnel that we have. I feel like it would be suitable to that type of setup. If you got in enough centre-backs and you could play with whomever your three centre-backs are, all of our full-backs almost look like they're tailor-made to be wing-backs as well. And for Frimpong, it's a natural position that he played in. The system with a number 10 would again be great for WIRTZ. And we've got two centre forwards. So I'd love to think that we will eventually change. Arne said a while ago that the system we play is one that most players have played for most of their career. And to change that system would require a lot of work on the training ground. A lot of that is true. But we've seen Daniel Farke switch mid-season and had positive results with it. So I don't think it should be out of the question for us. But right now, what I think puts it out of the question is the lack of centre-backs. Eddie, how are we, bro? Hope you are well. I'll give you the stock Irish answer, mate. I'm grand, mate. How about you? Yeah, a bit tired, man. But other than that, I'm good. Elstew said, bit drunk. Mate, it's Christmas season. Get it into you. For all our rows, this channel is class. Oh, they're not rows, Stu. God, mate, I would never consider me and you back and forth as a row. Disagreements, perhaps, but it's always been polite, sir. If you want to see me having a row with somebody, I promise you, it looks very different, and there's a lot more language used, and I'm a lot more vociferous. But yeah, no, I always think of you, mate, as just somebody who was as passionate as I am, and defends their position, and that's what this is all about, my man. So yeah, enjoy your few drinks, you've earned them, and Merry Christmas once again, bro. I always appreciate your input. Young lad 46, how are you, sir? Craig, I'm autistic like yourself. Many people can't accept the truth because it's too painful. Autistic people can't function without it. When they see someone who's true to themselves, it scares them. So, I don't know if this happened to you, but I only found out I was autistic at 35. And until then, I'd always known something about me was different, but I never knew what it was. And I never really felt comfortable around other people, and I learned to mimic behavior, and I learned what the social convention of how I should behave in certain situations was. But the reason I bring it up is, now my mum and dad didn't know I was autistic, and both went to their graves not knowing I was autistic. But my mum used to always tell me that my mouth was going to get me in trouble because I couldn't bite my tongue. In any environment as a kid or anything, I always spoke a blunt truth. And now I'm older and a little bit wiser, I understand that in certain situations you have to sugarcoat something in a more socially palatable way when in a face-to-face conversation with somebody. But being true to me is really important. And I can't explain this to other people, but some things feel like a physical manifestation of pain if I don't say it or get it out, or if I feel somebody else is spreading a falsehood that I know is a falsehood. It almost nearly physically hurts me not to get it out. So yeah, thank you for sharing your experience as well. And the irony of it all is, when we're growing up as kids, we're always taught right and wrong and to tell the truth. But I don't think right now, in 2025, any of us live in a world where the truth is encouraged and the truth is rewarded. And I'm not talking about me here. I'm talking about anything. If you speak truth to power as a journalist, you're going to get in trouble most likely. If you speak up against powerful men, if you're a woman, they're going to come looking for every bit of dirt on you. If you whistleblow against your government on something, you're a traitor. These are the things I struggled with all my life, because right and wrong is simple. And the best bit of advice anybody ever gave to me, and I don't know who said it to me, but the bit of advice was that you never have to talk yourself into doing the right thing. And it's stuck with me since then, because they're damn right. You just know, don't you? You know right and wrong. And you don't have to talk yourself into doing the right thing. You have to try to convince yourself into doing the wrong thing by finding ways to justify it. Semenyo is another Kvara situation, in my opinion. Too late. Do you know what would be an interesting one though, Sonder? I wouldn't mind if Liverpool did throw their hat in the ring just to see what way it would go. It always did look like Kvaratskhelia wanted Paris Saint-Germain, and they courted him for a very long time before he went there. So I wonder if Liverpool did throw their hat in with a late bid here, or because it's a release clause, so it's not like you're going to have to gazump the other. You can talk about different payment structures or whatever, but it would be interesting to see where the player went if there were multiple options there. Elstew said, I'm a writer and a forensic psychologist. It is true that people try to buy you. Yeah. They certainly tried to buy your silence or your opinion. That's why I've always said, man, I'm not for sale. My views, I am who I am, and I am me, and I'm going to say what I want to say. And if people unsubscribe, if it ends with me getting in trouble, it is what it is. I live with it. I own it. But I just don't get some of the hypocrisies of the world that we're supposed to live with these days. Like what I said, if you're a parent right now, you're teaching your child right and wrong. Don't lie to mommy and daddy. And yet the very first aspect of what we do is lie to our children. And in case there are young kids watching, I don't want to say the specific things we lie about, but you know where I'm going with this. Certain times of the year, stuff like that. So we start off as hypocrites from day one with our own advice to our own kids. And that's why, you know, when people say to me, stop swearing or don't swear as much, young people are watching or kids are watching. This is why I defend it as well so much, is people are so focused on being outraged without really putting context into something. So I would much rather that my child swears than lied, or swears than manipulated or bullied somebody. Now, I'm not saying that the two things is one or the other only, but I know a lot of people who speak very highbrow and very articulately, but are manipulating people into a view to suit a narrative that makes them money. And I ain't ever going to be one of those people. So I'm going to be me, and I'm going to swear because I don't see what the problem is with it. You know, little Johnny and little Mary swear. You might not hear it, but they swear. That lawyer or that solicitor or that judge, they swear when they're at home. So to me, it's the context and the content of what someone's saying that's more important than the choice of words that they use. Because I can sit here and swear, curse and swear blind, but you'll never hear me trying to indoctrinate your kids into hatred or belittling another human being because of something. And that's why I defend swearing so much and as strongly as I do. Thank you, Abdul. Appreciate you. Didino said, a forensic psychologist, get him on an interview. I speak to a forensic psychologist every 2 weeks, mate. You know, my own psychologist is a forensic psychologist, and, you know, I speak with him every 2 weeks. And I work through a lot of stuff with him, you know, to try and make sure I can keep going at doing this. Because there are days I you know, I do these streams and it gets bad and I smile in camera and I turn it off and I'm in floods of tears. Or I go to bed and I don't want to get up. Especially around the threats that came through to my family. Like, that had me as a basket case. Because I wanted so badly to just make sure I could nip that threat in the bud. But you were also trying to do it in a legal way and the police were involved. And, you know, there's been so much stuff going on that it's been a really tough end to 2025 psychologically for me, and then throwing the shoulder injury and stuff. It's been a tough one. So I've been blessed to have that psychologist because I need them, and if I didn't have him to work with, I don't know if I'd be able to still do this job. Sonder said, journalists so conflicting. Ben Jacobs said no Semenyo, while others are sure we're going to bid to try. Really want the centre back in January over anything else, though. I'm like you on the confusion over the Semenyo stuff. It really does feel like, it doesn't even feel like, let's say, the ones who are very close to the club and report the club narrative are saying one thing versus others are saying another thing. This one feels like it's a genuine split. Like, journalists that I'd have respect for on every side of it are saying different things and are hearing different things. So yeah, it is really difficult to try to figure out which is right. But in these type of situations, I tend to lean to the more pessimistic sense because, you know, that way at least I'm not gonna be hurt about it if it doesn't work out. But yeah, again, where is everybody else's heads at with it? Like, we had the poll where people don't think we're going to get Semenyo. David, can you please stop saying cheer up, Craig? Again, I know that's another one of those comments that's, you know, a false nice comment. It's not there to actually ask me to cheer up. It's there to try to bait me into something. So can you just drop it? And thank you again, my friend. I get the feeling this gentleman's been unlucky with not being able to get a comment in with the super chat, and I apologise if that's been the case, sir. I'll keep a lookout for you in the in the chat to see if it's just a comment you're not being able to get through. Anthony, hi Craig, I want an honest opinion. Do you really believe Slot can turn this around? I know you might disagree, but I don't think there are signs that Liverpool can improve. Excuse me, I read your question wrong. Let me start again, Anthony. Hi Craig, I want an honest opinion. Do you really believe Slot can turn this around? I know you might disagree, but I think there are signs that Liverpool can improve. Do I think he can turn it around? Yes, but I just don't think he will turn it around. I'm trying to analytically describe my feelings towards the situation as clearly as I can. You don't get to a level of managing Liverpool Football Club without an ability to be a good coach. But sometimes I feel like Aaron has become too stubborn on certain things. So on the set pieces, I feel like even the way the leadership on the pitch are talking about them, it just isn't acceptable to me. And if Arna turns around the results, I still want the performances to be better. So I guess, can he? Yes. But I don't see the improvements that you're seeing. Or maybe I am being unfair. Because what I would say is, I think there have been individuals who are getting better. But it's hard to then quantify, are they getting better because of the work that's been done on the training ground, the sports science team, which is part of Arna's group? Or are they getting better because they're already good players and they're getting used to the league? So for me, I try to ask myself, are there many players that he's improved? And there are many players that are there many players he's going to improve? And I find more often than not, I think there aren't a lot that he has improved. There are some, but I don't think he has the ability to do it in the same way that a Klopp would. So they're another area of where my doubts are with him. I don't like the idea of moving the ball around as much as we do. I think he's too concerned with possession for the sake of possession instead of possession for... Like, there's nothing wrong with having less possession and going direct if it suits you. And there's a lot of things like zonal marking. Right now, we're the worst team in the Premier League for the net goals we concede from set pieces. We're -9. We've scored 12, or we've conceded 12, scored 3. -9, worst in the league. And he still won't budge on that. And he still doesn't seem to want to change how we defend these. And I read something, quotes from Virgil earlier on, and I want to read this out to you and see what you think on it. So Virgil said about set-piece goals, it's about repetition, training, analysing. It's something we have to improve. I'd say at least 75% of the time or more. It's not even about the first contact. It's about the second phase that is the killer. Is it a mental thing? I hope not. If that's in your head, then it's an issue. Personally, it's not in my head. We've defended so many set pieces very well, but the fact is we've conceded too many goals like that and it hurts. We have to improve that. Training is the only way to get better at it. Each of us, each and every one of us has to take responsibility. It's always going to be on the players. We can speak about how we defend and how we attack, but at the end of the day, it's about what players put in. It's not being good enough. We all realise that. We've spoken about that. We need to turn it around. That's why we work on it almost every training session. It's things like that that make me doubt the manager. Because he's saying they're working on it all the time. In training sessions. They're being tactical. They're analysing videos. But he said one thing about... And the stats do back up what he's saying here, but I just want to give an alternative view. So he says one thing like 75% of the time or no, it's not even the first contact, it's the second contact that's the killer. And he's not wrong about that. A lot of the time from long throw-ins and corners, it is a flick on and it's the second touch. But here's the thing. If you get the first contact, they don't get the second contact. And that's the problem that I have with what he's saying. Win the fucking header and the conversation's over. Don't let the flick on happen and the second part isn't going to happen. Win your battles. Win your duels. Be accountable and use some common sense. I'm fed up watching people marking lads that are twice their size. I'm fed up at our best header of a ball not marking the opposition team's best header of a ball. These are simple things. I don't need WIRTZ to tell me that. I don't need videotape to tell me that. I don't need analytics to tell me that. Win your fucking duels. When a corner comes in, if it's near you, win your battle. Win your header. Clear that ball. If the keeper can't do it, you do it. Don't let the second balls happen. And then problem goes away. So that's what I think is wrong. We're not being aggressive enough in how we defend. And we're being far too naive. And all this we're talking, is it a mental thing? No, I hope not. Come on. It's 100% a mental thing at this point, bro. You might not want to admit it, or it might not be for you, Virgil. Because you seem like, Virgil is a very balanced, strong leader. But it's a mental thing for some. And it's definitely a mental thing for the fans. Because we cringe now. Do you remember when Simon Mignolet played for us at the end of his time here? Every time Simon Mignolet got the ball at his feet, all of us worried. And you could almost feel and hear the groans. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. When opposition teams feel confident for corners and we are nervy about it. We just are. The facts are we're the worst in the league. So all the training and stuff hasn't halted it yet, hasn't stopped it yet. So do something more drastic. Go to man marking. Go above the manager's head if needs be. And say, Ibu, I want you here. I want you here and I want you here. Ibu, Gravenberch, Gakpo, Virgil, all 6 foot plus. Canade's a liability defending them. Always loses them to the guy behind them when it comes to a goal that we concede from a set piece that Canade's near. So these are things that I just don't like hearing because I just don't believe it. Maka on Dan Burn was one for me. I mean, do you know what I mean? Like that's just plain stupidity, isn't it? Someone said something in the chat yesterday that was brilliant, and I think it was their brother that said it. They said their brother said to them that Space has never scored a goal, which is true. And zonal marking to me doesn't work for so many reasons, and a lot of them is they're getting a run on you. And, even somebody with the best leap is probably going to come off second best when someone has a 5-yard run at them and a chance to become more mobile. So I think we need to just be a little bit more aggressive. That meme guy said it's 100% a mental thing because when it's 2-1, we absolutely collapse. Exactly. So I don't know how we can look to the camera and say it's not a mental thing. Because it clearly is. We're clearly conceding and worrying about it. And other teams are clearly cottoning onto it and doing it straight away. Brentford, first long throw-in, goal. Maybe it was the second one actually, sorry. But early long throw-in, goal. Wolves yesterday were having very little joy. Corner, goal. And then the whole thing changed again. Christina said, yes, City did win 4 on the trot and credit to them, but I don't think that during that time they played the most entertaining football. I'll be honest with you, I haven't watched all that much of Manchester City this season, Christina. Yeah, I haven't. So I couldn't tell you what they played like. I watched Match of the Day and clips and stuff. And, I watched Liverpool games as many times as I can to get as much information as I can. But other than that, I watch highlights of other teams, really. And maybe I watch games if I'm not working and something's on. So I couldn't tell you if Manchester City played well or not. But I know I'm not convinced by how we're playing. And I know I don't feel like we've turned the corner. Slot wasn't expecting a lot of things. So I said this to you guys yesterday. Do you remember the Echo did a piece where they said basically they were watching Liverpool training on set pieces, long throw-ins and all in the pre-season tour, and then for some reason ripped it up and threw it in the bin and, didn't work on it as much anymore. And then, of course, the season starts and lo and behold, set pieces become a huge thing this season. Liverpool not that bad, just unlucky sometimes, and opponents play haram ball. We win almost every team who plays normal football. But there's two ways to look at that. So you're not wrong about us being unlucky sometimes. That's certainly been the case. We can also say that we have had the rub of the green on sometimes. But with regards to the way teams come and play against us, they do that for a reason, because they know it's effective. And until we neutralise that and make it not effective, they're going to continue to do it. So we can't blame the other teams for doing something that we know we're not good at. And when you've got a manager who keeps telling the world that we struggle with low blocks and stuff like that, well, guess what's going to keep happening? And then when we played Villa and they came and actually played some football and we beat them, he said he was surprised that they came and played football. So, there's no divine right for any team to show up and try to, play pass and move football like Liverpool. They do what they think will get them a result. And we've got to be better than that. So we got to make it very clear that lumping balls long and stuff like that isn't going to work against us. But I don't think we've enough counter-attacking pace as well. Now, maybe that changes a bit with Frimpong coming back into the picture. But that is something I think we're lacking a lot of from our attackers, is that blistering pace on the counter that used to almost, because if a team knows that you can counter them, like let's say they get a long throw in a corner and they go in, how many goals did we score in the Klopp era where Mane, Firmino, Salah were just boing down the other end, we're defending 1 minute and then the ball's in the net very quickly the other minute. And then teams start to think, shit, do we put as many bodies forward? Do we be as bold and pack that penalty area as much? Because we could be caught out here. And we're not catching teams out anymore as much as we used to, or anywhere near as much as we used to, in my opinion. Sean said, every other YouTube video from the experts last year were analysing the genius of Slot. Not now. I'm thinking more and more that it was Klopp-built team. So my take on that, Sean, is, and I've always given Slot his credit, I think he was able to keep the fitness levels or keep the fatigue at bay a little bit longer than Jurgen was, and ultimately that was enough to get us over the line that season. So I do think there was some Slot input to that Klopp team that got us over the line. But then where I become annoyed, Sean, is that he's taken the blueprint that we were sold a vision of and ripped it up. And we aren't playing the same high-intensity pressing football as we used to. We might be moving the ball more and passing the ball more, but it's not as effective. And it's easy to defend against because they've 10 men behind the ball and you're just trying to find space. And there won't be space. So that's why I'm so surprised that we've gone so far away from that. Get up in their faces and try to turn over possession and win the ball back high up the pitch. Condense the pitch like we used to under Jurgen. And if they go long, fair enough, go long, but it's coming straight back at you. And there will only be a handful of teams in the world with the actual ability to play around the press when it's done properly. And if they do, fair play. You've got to just credit them on that. But what we've ended up with is this mad hodgepodge of frustration, slowness, and a lack of real dynamism in the way that we play. And we still haven't seen the benefit of it defensively. So it's not like we've sacrificed going so gung-ho to be stronger at the back, because we're not really stronger at the back either. So that's what has me so confused. How have we gone from a coach that came in that was almost Jurgen Klopp light to this? Don't get it. I don't get it. And I don't get what he's trying to do. And I've not even seen him articulate to the world what he's trying to do. Or what are... Like, do you remember we all joked about the Pep Linders book? But it was our identity. That was us. That was what we were about. And it was damn effective. And teams knew that they weren't going to have an easy afternoon against us. And they knew that we weren't weak mentally. And they knew that our heads weren't going to drop. Can the same be said of us this season? You know, I read through the pieces from the journalists earlier on. All of them talking about that mental frailty that comes in towards the end of games when these games become closer than they should have been. So many of the good attributes that were there, that were things that won us stuff and certainly won the fans' hearts, has been removed for a style of football that doesn't really have a style. I'm worried about the Leeds game, said Rain. I actually had fun putting together my predicted 11 for the Leeds game. It'll be coming out on Wednesday. I did it early because I just wanted to get it boxed off, and I'll make changes if needs be if anyone pops up injured. But I enjoy thinking about it. And what I will say to you is, I ended up going with a 4-2-3-1 system for the team that I've picked for my prediction against Leeds. And again, I'll explain that throughout the video when it comes out. But am I worried about that game? They're not going to feel scared coming to Anfield, because when they got the late equaliser at Ellen Road, their fans left feeling like they'd gotten something from the game and won it. The players were gone into that dressing room celebrating the fact they got a late point. And even though we got the same point, the emotional outcome for us was different. We felt like it was 2 points dropped, and the players will have gone in feeling like they lost, even though they didn't. And these psychological swings also have an impact. Santa said, we've played all the easy games now, and they get harder. God knows where we'll end up. Well, we are coming into a trickier run, all right. Like Leeds, and then we've got Arsenal coming up as well. Couple of Champions League games then early in the new year. We've got Marseille away, which is going to be a test. That's going to be a difficult one to go away there. You'd hope Qarabag should be straightforward. Barnsley FA Cup game shouldn't be too bad, but yeah, look, we've bigger tests ahead, and all we're doing, and this is why I refuse to buy into this everything is better, because all we're doing now is winning the games we should have been winning. That's it, in the easiest run of fixtures. And I think some people are trying to make out like Arna's turned this around. I haven't seen that turn around. Sorry, I'm just going through some more notes. Cool. So I'm going to be finishing up in a moment, but I'm going to be recording a news update video, and Mark Guehi is going to be a big part of that, because something has just come in there on him that I have to analyse a bit more before I can go into the video. So we'll be talking about Antoine Semeno, we'll be talking about Mark Guehi, and we'll be talking about a few other bits and pieces in the news roundup video, as well as, of course, a lot of the stuff that we covered here tonight if you're coming in a little bit late and haven't joined us for most of the stream. Will Salah miss any of the Champions League games? Don't know the dates of the Champions League games off the top of my head. I know Egypt have already qualified for the knockout phase because they've won their first two group games. So either way, they're through to the knockout. But I can't remember, mate. Sorry. I can't remember the dates. 1 second. G Daily, why are you moaning about ads, bro? Genuinely. Like, surely you've got to understand that for people to provide content for free, YouTube ads are, one of the few ways we raise money without going behind a paywall or Patreon or any of this type of stuff. So, ads are going to happen. If you're that bad for it, maybe, get YouTube Premium if you watch a lot of YouTube and you don't think you like the ads or not. But I know YouTubers who put ads every 30 seconds. I'm not joking, by the way. I'm not joking one bit. So, yeah, the balancing act to try and keep everything free, like I've said, is, there are ads. And, that is what it is, I guess, mate. Same with television companies and everything else. We'd all love to live in an ad-free world. I certainly would as well, as a consumer and a viewer on stuff. But it's it's a necessity, and I hope you understand that. Right, the poll: best Liverpool player in the last calendar year, and with 63% of the vote, you guys went for Dominic Szoboszlai as the best performing Liverpool player over the last calendar year, so 2025. And you know what? I can't really think any differently to you guys. I think you nailed it on that one, and it certainly would have got my vote there as well. I have premium on one device, just not used to that many ads during a live. That's all. Again, I understand and appreciate where you're coming from, my man. But like I said, we'll try our best, bro. We try our best to keep everything free and keep the lights on. But your feedback's taken on board. Ladies and gents, have a good one. Much love to you all. Tomorrow, Connor will be here with a news video in the morning. We will have an evening video. I'll be here for Late Night Agenda. And then tomorrow night we'll have an episode of the Anfield Agenda podcast coming out, which focuses solely on transfers. And myself, Connor and Chris will be chatting about each and every position, possible targets for now, for the future, and what we think could happen over the month of January. As always, I really appreciate you guys coming in. If you could hit that like button for me before you head off, let's see if we can get it up to 1,000 likes. We need 290 more. There's 1,600 people in the chat. It takes 1 sec. If you can't, please do hit that like button for me. And thank you to our sponsor, Surfshark, as well. If you need a VPN or if you need their services, you know where to go.